Most people in life are trying to figure out how to make a life worth living and retirement worth having. I often talk about this on a regular basis, and it's sort of tough to do things sometimes in the middle of the evening because my life is not the same. When I wake up, I find that some monster is getting on my Facebook accounts. Someone automatically actually ruined my right with my Facebook account because I was planning to establish it for my new professional name. But in the middle of the night, some monster in the sheriff's department thought they'd monkey with my phone, either from being right there on top of me while I slept, and what I mean is literally getting into my pockets and taking out my phone and playing with my work, or literally from a distance because he's such a jerk. The truth is that they reestablished an account for me that I didn't plan to reestablish. They ruined my right to use my new email address with a proper new business that it's attached to. And openly, I've tried to communicate that to Facebook, but they do not listen. What I have learned is that these social media companies are violating our rights. They are violating our rights on a pretty regular basis. You see, there are telecommunications laws that allow us the right to control when and who we call people. You see, this is something I vaguely remember out of a high school government class, that when Nixon was in power, he was abusing our communication tools. And from that point on, the laws changed. You see, we don't have to remember him for all the great things he did. We tend to remember presidents for the shitty things they do. And that's often what's taught in our classes, too. You see, in life, we have moments of time to tell someone how we feel. And when we don't take that opportunity in person, we literally lose all sorts of rights. Because what we tend to do is think about talking to someone, but then we start to seek counsel. We start to look for advice. We start to try and figure out, what do we do in this situation? And then we gather the opinion of matronly women and bitchy men, and we just realize that we have to begin again. In life, we have moments of time to tell someone how much we love them, how much we care, how much we feel they are in the air around us. They live through our spirit, they live through our life, they live through everything that makes them the right wife for us. And yet there's always a jerk. There's always someone in the lurk who is stealing our life away. When I was incarcerated because a female judge just didn't like that the world didn't function for her in 3 weeks' time, it was a difficult time. The bailiff, who was female and black, named Oliver, decided she would take all my property from me. Not only did she take my property, she didn't follow proper procedure because she was too lazy. She did not make a detailed list of my property. So as soon as I got into the situation, I knew I had rights to my religious goods. I knew I had rights to a religious book. I knew I had rights to my things, and at least, the very least, a list of everything in my bags. But they were in such a rush to get me into processing and holding tanks that they did not do their job right. There was a male officer right to the left of me, actually standing over, observing everything going on, as if he was somehow training that officer in what to do. But he took my journal, and in my journal had information of the people carrying and holding on to the rest of my property, their mailing address, their phone number, and everything. And I had a right to that too, but they wouldn't allow it, you see. When you visit a place like that, they take property off you. I wasn't even allowed to keep the food that a loving couple, a journalism couple actually, was providing for me, as expecting that I was not going to be held in any way by that court system. But throughout the entire experience of that situation, I had allegedly a family member interfering with my lawful rights to be there. But what I really think it was a law enforcement officer, a female bitch, who had interfered with my life the previous time I had been there. A gay woman who was fat, ugly, and obviously not right for me, pretending to be a family member of mine in that situation. When I asked who it was, my own lawyer, a young professional who's been about the fourth one that I had, refused to tell me, said she didn't know. That was a lie they told, and they got away with it. So for 3 months of my life, I was tucked away. I had no phone number to telephone anyone, and most of the time my phone in that room did not work. They violated my rights to communicate. Occasionally, I could call my mother because somebody alerted my mother that I was there. Who the fuck gave them the right to do that? As a mature man of 50, I didn't have to have anyone in my family knowing where I was. But they violated my rights in that regard, too, which meant that my sisters were stalking my life, interfering with my rights to get a new wife, and openly they don't get how much I hate them today. They have all lied, they have all stealed, they have all chosen to produce their life. They chose to produce their life by violating many laws on mine. That is their choice. They are liable and responsible for those choices. And while the current epidemic, the current pandemic, the current plague that the Lord has brought into the community might be hammering their life or that of their children, I don't have to have any responsible left to them. All I wanted to know was the ailment of my late mother, to find out what happened there. But I have someone in my life who continues to say things like, I miss you too. What a fucking lie they've told themselves. I do not miss her 1 second. I do not miss her mess. I do not miss her hoarding. I do not miss her lies. I do not miss her manipulation. What I grow tired and weary of are the lies that men tell, that they think that ne'er-do-well is the way to play it with anyone like me. The lies they told themselves destroyed my right to privacy. The lies they told themselves destroyed the right to procedure that I had experienced the time before, and the lies they told themselves had someone empty a trash can where I threw things away and literally walk across the state line, stalking me all the way. I literally barely got across the line in walking without some person in the sheriff's department, whose name at the present moment in time I forget, but it was something like McClure or one of these Irish laden names, basically implying that somebody called that I was walking on a road. I don't believe so. I took legitimately a road number, I believe it was 36, to come across because it was supposed to be safer for me. The problem was that wonderful old country road has virtually no places to stop to get food. I got a little loving kindness from the girl who was behind the register. I got a little help along the way from a man who worked at the university, and he helped me get into the town that I arrived in because I just was at the end of my experience in walking. It took me 2 or 3 days to get here, and I arrived in December. I went to just about every place there was to attempt to find assistance through the local community supposed options. And all I found was that some law enforcement shitbag kept walking into those places and getting me removed from my opportunities. That man interfered with my right to use the public library with their security people. That man interfered with my right to go to Walmart to purchase food items. That man interfered with my right to get online many, many times. And I just want to look at that man someday and say, who the fuck do you think you are in my life? I didn't ask you to participate in my life. I didn't ask you to do anything to interfere with my lawful future wife. But if you married her, sir, God is going to give you and your children the plague like nobody's business. You see, you violated one of God's plans. And when you violate a plan of God, you ruin your own life. When you lie, when you steal, when you cheat a person in your family or outside your family out of the plans that God has made for you, you destroy your own life. When my siblings of late did the things they did to imply to my mother that she had rights to my property, they put themselves at a marshal's federal risk. Not one of them had the right to negotiate on my behalf, and if they presented a letter of such, it was a lie. It was immoral, and it was going to put them in peril. When they allowed their children to walk onto a property without proper authority of me or the property management company, they lied. You see, the contract on file had my name alone, and behind that was my legal heir's name, which is not anyone I am personally blood related to. So when the property companies kept interfering by calling and dealing with my late mother's estate, that was the foolish thing they did. But where is the law enforcement officers to do the right thing, to properly handle that? You see, the problem was that the law enforcement people of Fishers were going in and out of my property too. And the men that attacked me when I was sitting there trying to go through my property were law enforcement officers of Fishers, Indiana. And I had one particular officer whose name was Garrison or something like that, who kept following me all over town, literally pestering the shit out of my life. But why was that? Was that because I was in love with the girl and wanted to make her my wife? Or was that because he was just a monster in his soul and got information that wasn't his to have, and he decided he would just harass the shit out of my life? Now, as a man, I don't have to keep explaining my life to people. As a man, I don't have to keep explaining that I had a good life. I had a loving spouse, and we had a good time during our life in a city. But that particular day that I was looking for some assistance to help him to have a better chance in the upcoming elections by giving him some information about medical treatment that he might not have known, one of his staff alerted him or didn't alert him, and literally allowed him to abuse my name, destroy my clear good records, and that became the beginning of the peril on my life. I have suffered and endured this shit for almost 5 years across 6 states in the Midwest, and where is the federal agents, the federal prosecutors that will go after these lying son of a bitches in the law enforcement of our world? You see, law enforcement is supposed to be about peacekeeping. What is absolutely unbelievable is not only the quality of people who choose to participate in law enforcement, but also the fact that the training of them doesn't raise their vibrations to the point of understanding what peacekeeping is about. So when people are making peaceful demonstrations, the peaceful demonstrations get out of control for 2 reasons. One, the people going to allegedly do peace aren't really there at all to create peace. They're there to retaliate. They're there to cause justice in their minds. That is a failure of the elders in that community. The black community is who predominantly was out in my community celebrating or trying to walk in honor or do things in honor or honk in honor of the truth of the world in America. That people are brutalized by law enforcement every single day. You don't have to be black, you don't have to be white, you don't have to be Hispanic, you don't have to be anything, you don't even have to be lawless. That if they choose to go after someone, they will. And there's a risk to every reporter, as we see, who's just trying to cover the news, which is their job, you see. The news reporters of the old time that I went to school with understood that you tell 3 sides of a story. You don't skew the plot, you don't skew the story, you don't imply that things didn't happen exactly one way or another. You provide both sides of the experience, and then you try to summarize in a balanced and healthy way so that the general population who's not participating understands what happened that day. In my life, I can lay down to go to sleep on a cushion that I find trying to be safe out of the way, and the automatic electronics of the building will thankfully turn off at some point during the night, and yet I can wake up and find that my phone that's being powered up has someone playing in my Facebook account and getting codes to change the passwords on it. Who the hell thought they had the right to lie and commit identity theft on my life? Who the hell thinks they have the right to sit across the road from me and play on my phone? Who the hell thought they had the right to put their hands in my pockets the other night and break my other phone, my original phone that a loving pastor supposedly was giving to me without malice? A $20 investment. Can you imagine? You know how many churches I went to say, I need help sponsoring a bus pass right now because of the struggle and the identity theft on my name. Would you mind helping me with a $20 donation? And you know I'm still waiting for that fucking youth pastor at one of the Lutheran churches to respond to me? Or is it some monster in the sheriff's world that thought they'd just keep deleting any email I got, any phone message I got, unless it was from someone in my family? I've had to block members of my family from my life because of the lies they tell about what they think they have rights to. You see, not one person in my family ever went to a doctor's appointment with me. Not one person in the family ever went to any medical practice with me. But for some reason, they thought because as a child they participated somehow in the changing of my life, the changing of things, that they had some idea of what was happening with me medically. What a fucking lie they told. This is not going to be a PG podcast. I never promised to do that. And as much as I love people like Pastor Paula and others, you have to reach the sinners and the children of the world who don't automatically come to church. You have to reach the people who want to be in the world as jerks. You have to reach the world of sinful men and ill-gotten women who matronly, monstrously try to manipulate some other human being's life. I have literally been sitting in different parts of the town, and some complete stranger will roll up and presume they know what my cellular health needs. Some shitbag tried to give me tamales the other day, and I thought, I'm sorry, who the hell are you? And why the hell am I supposed to take these from you? Now, if I met him because I went into his shop and he refused to help me and then he felt guilty about that, that's on him. But it is a sin to presume you know someone's health well enough to feed them without their consent, without their request, or without their permission. It is a federal liability to taint someone's food. Did we not learn that at all from the Taco Bell incident long ago? And I guarantee that this word Taco Bell will probably be pulled from my video because there's someone who's been editing my video, I created a video last night that was 8 minutes and roughly 45 some seconds to wake up to find that it's now only 8 minutes and 4 seconds. Who the fuck gave him the right to take any part of my video out? Now, I apologize again to the pastors who I regard, the pastors that I love to listen to, the pastors whose quotes and tweets I love to retweet and love to love on with those heart tweets. But the truth is, we must talk truth about God's plan in people's lives. That people have so obliterated this opportunity of the Lord in my life that they are sinning now in their own. For every time one of my monstrous relatives interfered with my lawful records, they will go to hell. They can pick up their own pendulum tool, they can check it themselves, but they have to be willing to submit to the truth of God and the angels that are barely in their lives today. The lie that one of my siblings told was that she thought she could call my theological helper, and I apologize, I forget, my therapist, while I was going through the loss of work, while I was dealing with the loss and the dying of my father. Who gave her that contact information? I didn't give that to any one of my fucking siblings. But what that meant is they lied and they walked into my house. They opened drawers next to my bed, and they stole business cards to imply that they could cause me dread. At what point does law enforcement investigate the true thieves of the world? Or are they just so busy supporting something that they thought they could turn records into a girl? In this time, I'm going to tell you, my cellular health is mine. And when I was in a McDonald's the other day, waiting for my love to come my way, patiently doing what the Lord bid me to do for my own breakfast, my own food needs, my own anything, the most stunningly beautiful girl walked by me and barely brushed me, and my entire groin area stood up. So fuck you if you think I'm not big enough for anything in your life, little sheriff shithead, but I don't give a fuck what you think of me. And here's what I know about God. There is a Trinity, and that Trinity is coming for you, sir. You're going to lose every bit of your life very soon, to plague, to destruction, to your own family being sick to death of you playing Lord in other people's lives. I have the right to be passionate. I have the right to be angry. I have the right to channel anything that the Lord God's angels want me to say to this world. Because He gifted me, not you, little girl. And until you recognize that God does everything in His timing, we can't win in life. Your foolish choice of shifting a name. I did what you prayed for. I told you which name to get rid of, but you did not listen to the rest of the message. So get here. Be here. Be present. But don't play in the shadows if you think God's not watching you. God did not authorize any person on the planet. He did not authorize any Christian at all to interfere and monkey in anyone's lawful records, anyone's medical health, anyone's privacy, anyone's legitimate right to be mobile and civil and living in our world today. For every person that participated immorally in this situation, you will have hell to pay from the Lord. Thanks for listening.